Hey, it is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. And what we're talking about today is earning higher commissions. How can you turn those commission checks, maybe add another zero at the end of that, or maybe just give it a little bit of a slight bump in it and overall increase your gross commission income that you're receiving over the course of a year. I've got a few different strategies we're going to talk about of how you could be increasing your commission income, because look, when it all comes down to it, you're spending about the same amount of time. You might just adding a little bit of extra time, but that extra money, that extra percentage point, that extra whatever is going to compensate you for that, and it's going to be overall worth the more. It's going to help you grow your business. It's going to help you better serve your clients. It's a win-win-win scenario. So I'm really excited to share this with you guys today. Thank you for watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Friday, we come to you live into your homes, into your phones, into however it is that you're watching us, the computers at your office. Quote from a viewer of State of Real Estate: "This is better than my office's sales meetings." I think so, probably, unless you got some really good sales meetings going on at your office. Look, we do this every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you mastermind and take your business to the next level. Look, transition can be tough. Transitioning from one career to another, or transitioning from a decent real estate agent to a great real estate agent, or a great real estate agent to the best real estate agent. These transitional periods can be tough, and you should always be in transition, and we're here to help you make these transitions, to help you level up, to take you to the next level every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. Best place to do that is at tampaschool.com/success. Again, that's tampaschool.com/success. That's our Success Center, where we help you plan for success. You drop your email in there, we'll send you an email every time it is that we go live, so you don't miss any of this masterminding goodness. And of course, this is a live stream, so if you guys have any questions about any of these topics, comments, snide remarks, anything like that, throw that in the comment sections. Love to give you a shout out here on the air and answer your questions as well. But let's get to the topic of the day, what you're probably here to learn about: earning higher commissions. And look, there's a few different strategies I want to walk you guys through that are going to help you earn higher commissions, to ultimately, at the end of the day, make more money. And now, really the simplest way to start earning higher commissions, and look, we'll go with the simple answer first, which is going to seem obvious, so don't knock me if this seems obvious. It should, but sometimes you just need the obvious reiterated and re-emphasized to make sure you're not forgetting about what's staring you right in the face. And this obvious way to earn higher commissions, so look, your commission is a percentage of the sale price. There's two ways we can move that needle. There's two ways we can move the needle of how much our commissions are. We could increase the percentage, which that's what we're going to spend a majority of the time in the show talking about, increasing the percentage, because that's usually a little bit harder to do, or increasing. The other thing we could increase is the sale price of the home. Those are the two ways we can move that needle, either increasing the sale price or increasing our commission rates. Those are the two ways that we could increase our commissions. So let's talk about the easy, obvious way to increase your commissions first and foremost, and then we'll spend some more time talking about how you charge higher commission rates, because that seems like the code that a lot of agents can't crack. So we'll talk about some helpful strategies and tips you could use for that. But first and foremost, higher sale prices. Now, let's do some quick math here. Let's say you're earning 3% on $100,000. You're representing one side of a sale and a $100,000 sale price home. It's a $3,000 commission. You know, it's probably what still a nice check to see. I take a $3,000 check any day, and I'm not saying to turn down lower priced business, because that $3,000 check for a $100,000 home could lead to another and another and another, and maybe even some higher level ones, maybe some lower level ones, but every client There's a statistic out there. I'm not quoting this exactly, but the statistic out there is that every client is worth, I think it's somewhere between 5 and 6. It's like 5.6. We'll call it 5. We'll just round down a little bit. We'll call it 5, that every client is worth 5 transactions. And you might wonder, well, how are they worth 5 transactions? Well, there's the price, their homes that they're owning, that they're going to move in and out of every 5 to 7 years. But then on top of that, you have the referral business from friends and family. And now this isn't increasing your single commission check, so I won't spend too much time talking about this, but this is such a great way to tenfold your business is through referral business, of making sure that every client it is that you work with, that you're getting referrals off of them, that their friends and family, they're not using anyone else except for yourself. Even if they know somebody that's a realtor, they've used a realtor in the past, you need to be the best option. That's what we're going to talk about when we talk about moving the needle on the commission rate it is that you do charge, the other way to increase your commission checks. But going back to this $100,000 home, look, I'm not saying that that's a bad transaction. There's just better transactions out there. There's just going to be larger commission checks. If we talk about a $200,000 home, we're still not talking about that high of a price in relation to what's out there. But on a $200,000 home, that same 3% rate, 3% on 100,000, that's going to get you $3,000. On 200,000, $6,000. On $300,000, $9,000. On $400,000, $12,000. You guys see where I'm going with this? So let's peg a $400,000 home. We peg that against the $100,000 home. We're looking at $12,000 or $3,000. Now, if we ask ourselves the question of which transaction is going to take longer, if I don't talk about how much you're getting paid, you'll probably say, well, they're probably going to take about the same amount of time, a $100,000 home and a $400,000 home. And you'd be right. Maybe one of them is going to take a little bit longer than the other, depending on the situation, depending on the complexity of the deal, depending on who the buyer is and who the seller is and how motivated they are. But ultimately, it's going to take about the same amount of time for a $100,000 home as it would for a $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 or whatever price it is that we want to stick on it. Now, obviously, as we do get into higher pricing, when we're above the price point of a typical home price in the market, if this is a listing, it might take a little bit longer to close, but the amount of work it is that you're putting in is going to be roughly about the same. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but because ultimately I don't want to spend too much time talking about the higher sale price, because again, this should seem pretty obvious. But we could get 4 times the amount of money for roughly the same amount of hours it is that we're putting in of actual working time for a $400,000 home versus a $100,000 home. And hey, look, that $400,000 home might even take less work, less time, less effort. If we're talking about maybe if that $100,000 home is somebody's residence, now this is a generalization, but somebody owning a $100,000 home probably isn't as financially literate as somebody owning a $400,000 home. That's not always the case, but typically people that can afford higher priced homes are more financially literate, that they'll understand the transaction more. Somebody going into a $100,000 home, that might be the first home that they're purchasing, whereas somebody going into a $400,000 home, this is a home that they're moving up to. Maybe they had a $250,000 and they're moving up to $400,000. So they've already purchased a home before. So that $400,000 client, this won't always be the case, but that might even take less time of your actual time putting into this than the $100,000 home. So not only are you earning more money on this transaction, but you're also spending less time in there. So if you put it on an hourly basis of this, you're making significantly more money than you would on that $100,000 home. Now again, I want to reiterate this. The $100,000 deal isn't bad. And unless you've got more business than you know what to do with, you shouldn't be turning away any business whatsoever. The only time you should turn away business is never. Because even that $100,000 home, if you don't want to work with them personally, refer the deal to somebody that will. That's the simple way to do this. Even if you don't have any sort of team, you don't have anybody you're partnered with, you don't have anyone that you've teamed up with, because that's what a lot of people think is, oh, you have to have a real estate team to handle more transactions. Well, yeah, if you want to actually handle the transactions, But look, you could take that deal, refer it to somebody, and still get a portion of this. No infrastructure necessary. You just need to know somebody who wants business, who will get the job done, refer it out to them, and there you go. So you're still not turning away the business, you're referring it to an associate, somebody that you know, that you trust, that you know will give that client the time and effort it is that they need. So when it gets to the point when you feel like you should be turning away business, nope, nope, nope. That wasn't skipping there, that was me. No, do not turn away business. Never turn away business. Refer it out. That's the way you turn away business. You refer it out to somebody who does want that business, who would be okay. So treat every client like they're $1 million client. You might not even work with any $1 million clients, but you want to treat every client like they're $1 million listing, that they're $1 million client. And if you don't want to put in the time and effort because you say, oh, what return am I going to get on a $100,000 home? Have an agent in mind that will take $100,000 home leads and refer that business to them. They'd be grateful for you, and you're still going to get a cut of the deal off of that referral fee. Yeah, you're not getting the whole thing, but almost no effort. Maybe spend 5-10 minutes talking to them on the phone, saying, okay, I've got somebody that can help you out. Let me get you in contact with them, refer it out to them, get the referral agreement signed. Hey, look, if you're only getting a 10% referral, you could be getting a 15, 20, 25%, whatever you've got negotiated out with that agent. But even at only 10%, that's still better than nothing. That's still $300 on that $3,000 commission. So really summing this up, because again, we're talking about earning higher commission checks. And those referral fee checks that you're not putting any time and effort into, that's just helping bring up your income that you're getting. So yeah, it's not a single check that's higher. Those checks are actually going to be lower with that. But when you're able to focus on the higher price homes and focus on those clients and getting those closed and attracting those clients and working with them and filling up your schedule with higher priced homes, you won't have time for the lower price homes, but you could still refer them out to others who do have time for lower price homes. There's always agents out there that are struggling to find business, that are looking for business, that are out hunting for business. It's the gold standard. It's what you want to strive for, to have a line of people waiting to work with you. And when you've gotten to that point, that's when you can start referring out your business to others. But up until that point, you always want to make sure that you've got business lined up. Now that's one way to move the needle, is working with higher priced homes, but the way you're probably more interested in moving that needle is getting higher commission rates, because even on that $100,000 home, the $200,000, $300,000, whatever the price may be, you'll be making more money if you could charge a higher commission rate. But not everyone always wants to pay more money. So we'll talk about the secrets as to how to get them to pay more money after this quick commercial break. Stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate. Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrismo with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have been for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and the show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're interested in starting or enhancing your real estate career, give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106. You'll find that below. And you can also check out our website, tampaschool.com, as well as passfirsttry.com, as well as postflorida.com, as well as mp3audioreview.com. And we've got all kinds of sites and tools and information that's available for you to help you take your real estate business to the next level, as well as start your real estate career. So feel free to give us a call. That's what we're here for, to help guide you through all this information it is that we have available. What we're talking about today is increasing your commission, making that check jump from a $9,000 to a $10,000 check, adding that extra decimal place in there, maybe even adding another zero at the end of the check. That's what we're covering today. Now, first segment, first 15 minutes, we were talking about the obvious and simple way, which I didn't want to spend too much time on that, but I did want to mention it because sometimes the things that are obvious, that are staring you right in the face, need to be reiterated so you're like, oh, that's right, I forgot about this basic, simple concept. The more advanced you become in real estate, the more it is that you maybe forget about some of the fundamental aspects. And the simple thing, there's two ways to move the needle, two ways. Either increase the sale price of the home, but maybe the sweet spot for sale prices in your market where there's the most transactions is maybe around $300,000. There's an average price of homes based on your market, based on your area, where you're going to get the most amount of transactions. So that might be the area it is that you work in. Maybe you don't have any homes above $500,000 in your market. You could still earn higher commission checks by moving the needle of the commission rate it is that you're charging. Now, this is especially important for some of you guys that might have had to discount the rate it is that you'd like to charge. So the commission rate it is that you charge, it's always a negotiated amount. It's always a negotiated amount between the brokerage and the clients that we're serving. And in these negotiations, a lot of people think, okay, negotiations mean that getting to a price that's acceptable. There's another way to negotiate. Just like there's two ways to get higher commission checks, there's two ways to negotiate. We could either negotiate on the price or the terms. The price or the terms. Those are the two things. And okay, you're like, yeah, John, obviously, yeah, we could also negotiate on the terms. Now, what are the terms of our commission rate? Well, let's use a different word. Let's think of what those terms are that we're talking about. The terms are what we're doing. So there's a price that we're charging for our commission, and our terms really are what's being provided in exchange. Now, that alternative word, it isn't terms. It's a contract word. No one likes that. It doesn't make sense. Let's call it what it is. It's value. We're charging a price, and the reason why people are willing to pay that price is the value it is that we offer. If we had no value, the market would not pay us anything. The reason why the National Association of Realtors is the largest trade organization in the world, the reason why realtors are paid on a $500,000 home thousands of dollars, to over $10,000 on a $300,000 home, a 3% commission rate is almost $10,000. It's $9,000 for 3% of $300,000. The reason why we're making that money is because we're offering value. That's what you have to understand. And a good exercise for this, so a good exercise to understand the value it is that you're offering to your clients, is just start writing down the things it is that you do. And thinking and almost brainstorming. Now, you don't want to spend all your time doing this. This is an exercise that you want to keep short in the amount of time, but you really want to think about, okay, what is it that I'm offering? What is it that these people are actually paying for? So let's break it down on the seller side of this, because the seller ultimately is who's paying the commission in most transactions. And we'll talk about the buyer side of this, because even though working with a buyer, you don't necessarily have control over the commission rate. You might have a little bit of control. We'll talk about that. But the commission, so in real estate, in case you're new to real estate, in case you're not one of the experienced agents tuning into the show right now, the commission rate is typically paid for by the seller and negotiated with the listing agent and the seller. And they negotiate not only what the listing brokerage commission is going to be, but also what the buying brokerage commission is going to be, what that cooperating commission rate is going to be. So really the listing agent, the seller's agent has control over what the commission is going to be for the transaction. And, if you are working with a buyer, and I'm sure this has happened to you guys before. Maybe you're working with a buyer and your buyer says, oh, I really like this property, and you're like, okay, great, and then you see that you go down and look at the commission rate, and you see that the commission rate is lower than what you typically see. It's a low commission rate, and you're like, oh god, this agent couldn't negotiate a good rate. So this isn't just good for you; it's good for everyone in the transaction, because when their clients are set on a certain home, I mean, we have no option but to help them with the home. The ethical thing to do is, despite the lower commission, help them get the home it is that they want. So it's good for all parties involved. And as an agent, you'll get more excited when you see there's a higher commission rate that's being paid for this. Now it is illegal to steer based on the commission, but I mean, let's address the obvious fact here. When somebody sees that they're getting paid more for any type of job, they get more excited about doing that job. They're more likely to go above and beyond. And I know that's not what anti-steering laws say, but the obvious thing that goes on is people see, okay, I'm getting paid more, I'm more excited here. That's not supposed to happen, but look, that is what happens. Or that seems to be a trend. I'm not saying you guys should do that, not recommending that, but despite that, it's the trend. So not only is it good for you to get paid more, it's good for everyone to get paid more in the transaction. It makes people more excited. It makes them have more money so they could spend that on their families, grow their business. So it's good for the entire industry. But look, where this is wrong, where it's wrong to charge more money is when you're charging more money for the same amount of value. If you're trying to talk somebody in to paying, let's say paying 7% commission, if you're trying to talk a seller into paying 7% commission for a 6% commission value, that's unethical. That's the stereotypical salesman that no one likes. No one likes to overpay for something. So you shouldn't be offering 6% value. You shouldn't even be offering 7% value. You should be offering 10% value at a 7% price. Because when you're showing that there's so much value, that there's so much it is that you're doing, you're the obvious choice. It makes it easy. And look, even if you're only charging 6% or 5% or 4%, when you're showing these higher values, it just makes your job easier. So look, even if you want to change the same commission rate, but you want to secure more listings, you want to get more deals under contract, you add extra value. Your value it is that you're adding is going to make the whole process easier. Whether you're charging a higher rate or not, when they see that there's value there, they're ready to sign up. They're ready to do the deal. So many people, again, I want to go back to what I started this off with. So many agents, when they get into negotiations about commission rate, they negotiate the commission rate. They don't negotiate what it is that they're doing. They negotiate the rate. They focus on negotiating the rate. But look, there's two components to this. There's the price, your rate it is that you're charging, and the value. Those are both negotiable. Not just the price. The seller will probably initially only be concerned with the price. They'll say, oh, well, 6% is too high. Can't you do it for 5%? Can't you do it for 4%? Can't you do it for 3%? Can't you do it for free? That's what they're thinking. What you're thinking, what your reactionary response, look, you don't want to be reactive to these situations. You do not want to be reactive. You want to be proactive. And being reactive, you say 3%, oh, that's absurd. I can't believe you would say my services are worth 3%. And being reactive to that negotiation. You have to say, okay, well, look, I understand that you don't want to overpay. I understand, because look, this is the first way to handle any sort of objection is to agree with them. You don't want to overpay for things. Why would they want to overpay for things? Like I said, it's unethical to charge 7, 8, 9, whatever percent commission it is that you're charging for 4, 5, and 6% value. When they could get the same service that you do, and truly the same service, identical service, for a lower price, why would they overpay for you? Why? I'm not saying you should overcharge your clients. I'm saying that you should add more value that makes your higher commission rate worth it. That's the whole sentiment of today's episode. Charging a higher rate, but for much higher services. You could be the highest price and still offer the best value. How do you charge the highest price but still have the best value? That doesn't seem to make sense. Obviously, the highest price of whatever is overpriced. Not always true. You could have the highest price and offer the best value. Like I said, you're charging maybe 6%, but you're offering 10% value. And when you get into negotiations about the commission rate, you can't be reactionary. You can't react to, well, 3%, all right, well, look, I'll cut it down to 5%. How does that sound? You have to go back to the value. And if you are truly offering value that's worth 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% higher than what it is that they want to pay, that's where you have to go back to the value. That's where you have to go back to selling the value. And maybe if they do want to negotiate, because look, some people just feel the need to negotiate. They feel if they do not negotiate, that they're going to get a bad deal. They want a good deal, and in order to get a good deal, they feel, okay, well, I need to negotiate. What they're offering isn't the best price. That's why car dealerships, a lot of times the values, the MSRP is almost always marked up from what they'll probably sell you the car for. I mean, hey, walking into a car dealership or walking into any place, they're hitting you sale, 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 sale. Price was this, now this. I joke with my fiance about Amazon, and she says, oh, I got this on sale. I'm like, sweetie, everything is on sale on Amazon. Everything always has an inflated list price on there because no one wants to pay full price for something. They want to see that the value is this, but they're paying this. And that's the same thing that's true with real estate commission. They want to see that, okay, yes, you're charging me this, but I'm getting all of this here. You go into that and you want to say, hey, look, everything it is that I'm charging here, you go to anyone else and see if anyone else could do this, and you're not going to find this for less than 8 or 9% because agents simply don't do all these extra things it is that I'm doing here and offering the personalized dedication and oriented around you that I am. That's what you have to sell. That's what you have to reiterate. And look, if there's additional services, look, so going back to they might want to negotiate. They might feel the need and the urge to negotiate. You might want to have some things in your back pocket that you could add in to sweeten the deal. Okay, they don't see the value at this, with these services. Let's say if I add this on top of that. I'm keeping my price here, but I'm moving the value up. I'm moving the value up until they see that, okay, I do all these things for this commission rate. And yeah, there might be expense involved with you adding these additional services, of having these additional things. Maybe we're talking about, and we're just talking about, I just want to rattle off some things that are maybe worth more value. Maybe you have a professional photographer instead of you coming in there with your iPhone and, just taking pictures. If you're just coming in there with your iPhone taking pictures, I mean, that's no value. There's really not much value there. Every real estate agent has some sort of smart device, an iPhone, an Android, or whatever it may be. Everyone has a camera that could take whatever pictures. And you might say Apple's going to tell you, or whatever, Samsung or whoever, they're going to tell you, oh, our camera takes the best pictures out of any phone that's out there. But look, it's still a phone picture. And not only that, it's a real estate professional operating it, not a photography professional. And that's something that when you're talking about, yes, I have a professional photographer that comes in, that's where they might say, well, what if I take the pictures myself? Or my friend has a nice camera, can they take the pictures? You don't want just any photographer, you want a real estate photographer that knows the right lens to use, that knows the right angles, that knows how to get the lighting right to make the property look attractive. You've probably seen real estate listings before where you say, wow, look at this. This house looks flawless. And it's not because of the camera that was used. It's because of the user, the person behind the camera. Really, with an iPhone, you could probably take halfway decent pictures with the right person behind that. But nothing's going to match up to what a professional can do. And look, the professional is going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money. And this is usually not even an expense that you could pay out of the commission. If you want to pay that photographer a bonus based on the commission, based on the sale closing, like if you say, hey, I won't pay you anything for this, but if the deal closes, I'll cut you in with this much. The only way to legally do that is if that photographer has a real estate license, an active real estate license. Then you could pay a referral fee type of situation to the photographer. But other than that, you're paying the money up front for, hey, come take these pictures here. How much are you going to charge me? So you're investing money in front. And that's important to emphasize to your client is, look, I have these upfront expenses. I'm going to be spending money. You're not paying any money. You're not paying any money unless the deal closes. And that money's coming out of the money that the buyer's giving us. So you're really not even paying any money of this here. I'm investing money up front. I'm putting in the investment to get this property marketed to the most amount of people. And the photographer is one example of this. Maybe you're using a videographer, or maybe you've got some licensed drone person coming in there, because if you're using drones for real estate, you have to have somebody licensed with the FAA to use it for a commercial purpose like that. Anyone that's out there with their own personal drone using it for real estate photos, they're doing that illegally. Now, whether they're going to get in trouble is a different story, but the point here is that they're doing it illegally. I know your seller doesn't want their transaction being somehow illegal. And that's, again, all these different, you notice how I have these in-depth talking points. I don't just say I have a professional photographer. I have a story. I have a reason. I have a motivation for using that professional photographer, and I could speak to that. And I could explain to how that's not helping me. That's not here for me marketing it better. It's here to help me market your property better, to be able to better serve you. And when you're able to sell these benefits effectively, it should get to the point where you've sold these benefits and there shouldn't be negotiation. There shouldn't be any negotiation. If you've done a good job selling these benefits, selling the value it is that you offer, it should get down to, okay, where do I sign? What do I have to do? Let's get this going. That's where you should be at. When you've properly sold your benefits, there's no pushback, no objections. You may still have them, and we're going to talk more about how we could overcome them and how we could get this negotiation to ultimately show the higher value. But we're going to take a quick commercial break first, so stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrismo with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have been for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're interested in starting or enhancing your real estate career, maybe you need to do the pre-licensing course to get your license, or maybe you've got your post-licensing deadline coming up, give us a call. Phone number is 813-928-0106. You'll see that constantly flashing across the bottom here at some point. Oh, there it is again. So give us a call at that phone number, and we would love to help you out. We have advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. We have a vested interest in your success in the real estate industry. That's why we do these live streams every Friday at 12 noon Eastern time to talk about not just stuff you need to know to pass the exam. That's maybe stuff you want to check out on our Ask the Instructor series that we do on Wednesdays at 12 noon. State of Real Estate, okay, you've got your license, or you're preparing to get your license, and you're thinking, how can I take my business to the next level? How can I make my deals easier? How can I get paid more? That's really a big part of what we're talking about today. And the important concept today is selling the value. Number one, having value, which is why I talked about at the beginning that you want to have this exercise of starting off and saying, okay, well, let's say I'm working with a seller. What things is it that I do? And, get your pad and paper, or write it up on your computer, or maybe do a mind map thing, or get a whiteboard, whatever you're comfortable with, where you got stuff that flows out of you. For a lot of people, it's just pen and paper, putting the ink on the paper, right there, having that that fluid connection there, and just writing out the different things it is that you offer, and then thinking about, okay, well, what are the benefits? Not just the features. So this is something that's pretty basic sales stuff, but there's two different things: features and benefits. Features and benefits. You start off just writing off what your features are, and the features are professional photographer. Now, the seller may see this and say, professional photographer? God, this guy doesn't know how to take his own photos. What kind of realtor is he? Now, being in the real estate industry, it seems obvious why a professional photographer would be better and how that's going to help the seller. But if you just say, I use a professional photographer, they probably just say, oh, the poor guy doesn't know how to use the phone on his camera. He doesn't know he's got a great camera right in there on his phone. So you have to now tie in the benefits and say, well, look, most agents will use the camera on their phone. And I could come in here and use the camera on my phone. I take pretty good pictures, but it's nothing in comparison to a true professional. I'm not talking about some sort of hobbyist that has a digital camera and could take halfway decent photos. I'm talking about a professional real estate photographer, knows the right angles, knows the right lighting, all that type of stuff. Now we're talking about the benefits. And you maybe want to have some sort of story to sell this benefit. You say, how many times have you been looking at homes online? Even if they're selling a home, they've probably been looking at homes because, number one, they're probably going to be buying a home to move into. And number two, they might be investigating the other homes for sale in their area. And you ask them this, hey, have you done much searching online for homes? They're going to answer yes. I don't care who they are. The statistic is like 99% of people do their home search online. 100% of the people do the home search online. It's the anomaly when you find somebody who doesn't use the internet to search for a home. They're looking at things, they're looking at the pictures, and you ask them, hey, have you done much searching online for maybe the homes in your area? Have you done any research on any of the other properties? No? Have you looked at any properties for yourself for where it is that you want to move? And at some point you're going to probe enough and they're going to say yes to one of these. Okay, now tell me, have some of them stood out to you? Have you gone across some of the homes and you're like, wow, this looks really well done. This looks really well presented. The first thing they look at is the photos. The photos are really what make people want to have an appointment to see the house in person. People will look at almost thousands of homes before they decide, oh, that's the home, that's one I want to look at, because they're comparing, they're seeing what's out there. And the internet makes that so easy. But we have to capitalize on that technology. And now notice how I'm educating you guys about this. You need to educate your clients as well, so they don't think, oh, he's used as a professional photographer. What a sap this guy is. He has to pay for a professional photographer. This guy doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. You can't let them think that. Don't assume that they have the same knowledge it is that you have, because they don't. That's why they're paying you for your expertise. So you have to be clear in defining the value it is that you offer. I want to give a quick shout out to Elaine Metos, watching on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Elaine is actually in one of our pre-licensing classes. Actually, one it is that I teach. So if you want to be like Elaine, get your real estate license. Again, go to tampaschool.com or give us a call. Phone numbers are below. But okay, so we're talking about, again, that exercise, and this is important. Don't just listen to what it is that I'm talking about today, because that's a great first step, but you have to put action behind the knowledge it is that you're attaining. So start by writing out these benefits it is that you have. And I went into detail about the professional photographer and said, okay, that's the feature. Now what are the benefits? So that way you're able to, and look, maybe you're doing your listing presentation with some sort of PowerPoint, maybe you're doing your listing presentation with some sort of printed out material. You should have this stuff not only as how you're saying this, but look, there's different type of learners. So you need to not make sure that you're not also saying the information, but effectively communicating the information. And speaking and communicating are two completely different things. There's only one way to speak, really. It's making words come out of your mouth. There's a lot of ways to communicate. Speaking is one way to communicate, but your body language also communicates. You notice when I do things like this, that's talking about things. This is my things motioning. But your body language is going to talk about that. Your posture, the inflection of your voice. You know, you're changing the pitch around to maybe have a question at the end. See, notice how I just say add a question at the end? That changes the way it is that you say something. So that's another way to communicate. But other ways to communicate are maybe you're using your tablet to flip through PowerPoints, or you've got a little booklet printed out. This is also communicating your information. And while they're listening to you talk, they're not always listening to every word it is that you say. Look, I know you guys even tuning into this here, as visual as it is, there may be moments where you're thinking about, oh, look at that suit jacket. I like that color gray it is that he's wearing. Or why is his hair kind of flopping down in the front like that? It's usually not like that. Or whatever it may be, there's these things going on. And so when you have these visual aids to help you, you're able to more effectively communicate your value. And remember, that's the key thing. If you're overcharging for the value, it's unethical. And if you're not effectively communicating the value that you're offering, they're going to think you're unethical for overcharging. If they just see you're charging 7% and this person's charging 6% or whatever the differences may be, if they just see that's the percentage, if they just see what that bottom line is, all they see is, okay, this person charges more. They're overpriced. This person's the better deal because they have the better price. Not always true. That 6% person might offer 2% value. They're just doing it for less, or maybe they're charging 5% or 4%. They're really kind of cutting under their rate of what somebody else might charge. So when they're cutting the rate, they're typically cutting the services as well. They're cutting what it is that they get. I mean, there's the whole expression, you get what you pay for, but it's not enough just to say that. You have to describe what it is that they're paying for. You have to describe what it is that they're getting with you that would be charging a higher commission rate. Or maybe, again, maybe you're competing at the same commission rate. This person's charging 6% and this person's charging 6%. And you're charging 6%. What makes your 6% any different than the other 6%? The value it is that you offer. When you're offering 7, 8, 9, 10% value for a 6% price, wow, it's a sale. Need to get the sale. Well, it's hot. You maybe even tell them that there's some sort of sale. You could say, look, I'm trying to get a few more contracts locked down, and so normally I would charge 7% for all it is that I'm doing here, but I want to get this contract locked down this month, so I'll do it for only 6%. Maybe that's something you keep in your back pocket to really seal the deal, because sometimes you might need the price to close the deal. It might come down to it. Try to close the deal based on the value it is that you're offering. But if it comes down to it and you need to cut the rate to still get the deal, I mean, a 6% commission is still good. Yeah, I mean, even a 5% commission, it's still better than nothing. But your first line of defense, you shouldn't ever have to cut your commission. Look, if it makes the difference between getting the deal or not getting the deal, what you need to do in the future is practice your value, or maybe you need to offer more value. Maybe you're not offering enough value to them, so maybe that's something you look at for down the road. But look, still try to get the deal. Still try to get that, but your first line of defense of that is selling the value. And rather than cutting your rate, before you ever cut your rate, throw them a bone. Throw in some extra services. Say, well, look, I don't discount my commission, but I know you guys want to get a good deal. I know you guys want to not overpay with that. I completely understand. So what I'll do for you guys, and I don't normally do this, but I'll throw in this. I'll make sure that I'll do a video walkthrough of this as well. This is usually something I would charge extra for, but to seal the deal with you guys, if I could offer this video walkthrough that's going to help gain exposure. Remember, don't just talk about what the feature is, talk about what the benefits are. If I offer this video walkthrough, it's going to help us get more exposure on the property. People are going to be able to see it. I'm going to showcase it in a great light. I'll even advertise it a little. Maybe talk about spending extra money in advertising, or putting out flyers, or sending out mailers, or all kinds of, again, other things you could do to sweeten the deal. You don't have to cut your commission to sweeten the deal. You could offer more value and use that. If I do this, will you sign? If I do this, do we have a deal? If I add this, does that work for you? And they still say no. All right, well, how about if I do this? Instead of doing 1,000 mailers, I'll do 2,000 mailers. How does that sound? And now notice that we're negotiating on how much extra service it is that you're doing. And this is totally different than cutting your commission. Yes, it'll cost you more to send out more mailers, but then those mailers are really advertising your business. So it's a win-win situation for both of you involved. And you could use that to sweeten the deal, lock in a higher rate commission, and also grow your business at the same time. So again, the whole focus here, adding additional value, selling that value, negotiating on the value, and the commission is what it is. That's what you charge. You don't want a discount. There's other agents out there, and whenever they try to compare you to other agents, say, well, is the other agent doing this? What did they tell you about the photos they take? Or did they mention that about the photos? Oh, they're probably planning on doing them with their phone, which it'll take a picture. It just won't be as good as the professional. And I know I've talked about that a lot. I want to stick with that same example, but there's so many other ways. The advertising it is that you do, the video walkthrough, drone videos, maybe you're setting up a whole personalized landing page for that property. A great way to do that is just getting the domain for the property, 123mainstreet.com, and saying, hey, look, I already own this domain here, and I'm going to set up a whole landing page, or my team is going to set up a whole landing page based around your property, or it's going to have the video, it's going to have photos, and it's going to have a form where they could find out more information and set up an appointment right there on that landing page. Again, all these extra things, and you're talking about not just what the benefit is, not just what the feature is, but what the benefits are by having that feature, by doing this additional thing, and why doing these additional things are going to help them get a higher price for their home. So we're going to talk more about that as well, because sometimes it's just the bottom line. Depending on the type of person, they might just say, well, how is that going to help us? How is that going to help get the property sold? How is it going to get us to the bottom line? Because that's ultimately what they may be looking for. You've got to know your audience. You have to know what their needs are and then feed the need. We're going to talk about feeding the need after this quick commercial break, so stick with us. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrismo with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have done for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and the show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're looking to start or enhance your real estate career, make sure you give us a call. Phone number is below. It's 813-928-0106. And you can also check us out on our website, tampaschool.com, for everything it is that you would need for any continuing education, pre-licensing, post-licensing. Hey, look, maybe you want to become a broker. We're going to be getting some broker in-class courses. I know some of you guys are looking at that. We're getting some of those on the schedule for this year. So definitely check that all out. And also, don't miss our Success Center. It's tampaschool.com/success. You'll find this episode as well as all of our previous episodes of State of Real Estate. We've been doing State of Real Estate for over a year now, which means there's over 50 episodes, over 50 hours of videos dedicated to masterminding and growing your real estate business. That's what we do every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time on State of Real Estate. So let's get back into the last segment of today's episode on increasing your commission, all about getting those checks to be larger. Now, everything it is that you're doing, all this extra value, I might be getting some pushback saying this to some experienced agents where they might say, why do I need to do all that? Well, number one, to make the whole process a little bit easier, because if you've got all this value here, they're more likely to just say, wow, look at you do all this. All right, well, let's sign up. Let's do it. You've got me convinced. Let's do it. And there's no pushback, no negotiation about the commission rate it is that you're charging at all. But if there is pushback about the commission rate, again, back to the value, back to the benefits, back to the features, and how this relates to them, and how we could increase the sale price of the home by doing these. Because let's talk about that. How do we increase the sale price? Well, so ultimately, we're going to list the price of the property maybe here. And if the price of the property is here, but the value is here, not many people are going to be interested. And we could almost do a whole separate episode on this. Maybe we'll do that on next week's episode of Ask the Instructor. We'll talk about pricing homes, where to price homes effectively, If we price the property above the market value of the property, people are going to look at it and say, this property's overpriced. Why would I buy this property when this property is available at this price? Why would I pay more when the same property or a similar property is less expensive? And that causes you to lose interest in the property. Whereas if we drop the value down, if we make it on par or maybe a little bit below what the market value is, maybe the market value is here and we're putting our price right here, that looks like a deal. People are going to be interested. People are going to be attracted, especially if we present the property well. You're going to get tons of showings and hopefully tons of offers as well. And what happens when you get tons of offers? Who has the power in the transaction when you're getting lots of offers? Is it the buyer or the seller? Well, we don't even know who the buyer is. Really, all these people making offers don't have any control over the transaction when there's multiple people submitting offers. Now, when there's multiple offers, who's competing? The seller or the buyers? If there's only one offer, that seller's now competing with the other properties for sale. And they're more likely to cut their price of the property. But when there's multiple offers coming in on the property, the seller has the power and they're able to get a bidding war. They're able to get that. But look, if we want to have multiple offers, just pricing the property below market value, that's the easiest way to get multiple offers on the property. But how do we maximize the number of offers? How do we maximize the number of showings? How do we maximize the exposure on the property? That's what your primary objectives are as a listing agent once you have a listing contract secured, is maximizing the exposure to the property. And yeah, putting in the MLS, that's going to get you tons of exposure. It's going to push it out to all different kinds of websites, and the best way to maximize the exposure there is making sure you have a very presentable listing, great photos, great description, accurate information. That will maximize the exposure there. But now what else can you do on top of that to maximize the exposure? And now when you're outside of the MLS, when you're advertising on Facebook, when you're advertising in Google, when you're advertising in the newspaper, in magazines, or whatever it is that you're doing to gain additional exposure, maybe you're sending out mailers, postcards, things like that, you're not just gaining exposure for the property. Because remember, anytime it is that you send out an advertisement, at the very least you have to include the name of the brokerage to be compliant with the Florida Real Estate Commission, but you should also have in there your picture, your name, your phone number, your website, your email address, all these different ways it is that they have to contact you. You have all of that in your advertisement. And now what else are you advertising? You're not just advertising the property for sale, you're advertising your business. You're more likely to get future business off of gaining exposure for the property. So again, it's a win-win-win situation. It's a win for you in the eyes of the seller. It's a win for growing your business. And it's a win for getting paid because you're more likely to close the deal quicker when you maximize the exposure. That first 30 days the property's on the market, that's your best chance to get the best price on the property, because anything after that, the listing becomes stale. Just like no one wants to eat a stale bag of potato chips, no one wants a stale listing. No one wants a stale property that's been sitting on the market for longer than it should be. So adding this additional value, not only is it a win for your clients because they're going to gain further exposure, it's a win for you because you're going to grow your business, and also a double win for you because you're going to get the deal closed quicker and also be able to charge a higher commission rate, or at least make the negotiations a lot easier when you're offering this additional value. So if there's one thing you take away from today, it's offer more value than the rate it is that you're charging. Offer more value than the rate it is that you're charging. And again, the exercise it is that I urge you to do is start compiling a list of what those features are it is that you offer. What are your selling points? Anything it is, you go to buy something, anything that's a well-marketed product is going to have lots of benefits At the very least, lots of features. Lots of features. Oh, this car gets this many miles to the gallon. This car has heated seats. This car has cooled cup holders or a panoramic sunroof or all these things. But it's not just enough to have the feature, because you might see, oh, panoramic sunroof, oh, what's that, for getting more sunburns when I'm in the car? No, you have to also have the benefits as well. Panoramic sunroof, so you don't feel as closed in a small car. I don't know, I'm not a car salesman, if you can't tell. I'm a real estate guy. And you have to tie in these benefits. You have to tie in how this is going to help them, how it's going to affect them, how this will help them not only get a higher price for their home, but also sell the home quicker for these additional things it is that you're doing. So do that exercise. Start writing out the features. What are the things it is that you're offering to them? Because a lot of agents don't even know all the features it is that they have, or they might do the things, but they don't have a good way of marketing those things. So you have to come up with all your features, but then also turn those into benefits for your clients. Say, well, I do this because blah, 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 because that'll do this for you, that'll do this for you. Maybe give them a story about something if you have some experience with that feature. Anything like that that translates to them, that makes sense to them. And again, if you get pushback about the rate it is that you're charging, you have to do a better job of selling the benefits. That's what you need to focus on. You should really reassess yourself after every listing appointment it is that you have and say, okay, what did I do good here? What can I do better? And be a little critical of yourself, because that's how you make yourself better. That's how you refine your craft and ultimately deliver a better experience for your clients. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Make sure you tune in next week for next week's episode of State of Real Estate, 12 noon on Friday, and also Ask the Instructor on 12 noon on Wednesday. And remember, give us a call if you've got any questions or any way it is that we could help you. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. You guys have a good weekend. Get out there, sell some houses, crush it, and I'll see you next week.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrisma with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
I have done for my love.
Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.